Welcome back to the Go to Go podcast, man. Episode 112. This episode, man, we got a quick little hot or not, and then we're gonna jump into our pick'ems, of course, per usual, man. Why don't you go ahead, or actually, I'll go ahead and start you off. Um, After week 10, heading into week 11. So, hot or not, the Pittsburgh Steelers will win the AFC North.
That's not a hot take. And, we got a big matchup coming up this week in the AFC North, and I'm sure we'll get to that. But I'm going to just say here, I think they win the division, man. They got a tough remaining schedule. I think they have all six division games left. And then I know they play the Eagles one more time, and then I think another playoff team. I don't know the last team. But regardless, they got a very tough road ahead of them. And I know the Browns might not be as good this year or the Bengals, but, as a fan, of another, AFC North team, those games, no matter who's playing, no matter what's going on, they just always seem to be tough. Like each team can beat any team at any given time. So I think it'll look very different from how it does now. But regardless, I'm gonna just say it's not a hot take, and I think the Steelers actually do win the division.
All right, man. AFC North champs, the Pittsburgh Steelers. Did not think we'd head into this season with someone saying that one. So,
No.
yeah, man, they own the Browns, so they should be just fine with those two games. That's all the hot or nots I got for you this week.
All right, and then the one I got for you is hot or not. With the win last night, Miami's season is not over, and they have a chance to make the playoffs.
I'm gonna say that's not a hot take. It's not a crazy hot take. Six losses already. You can't really afford too much room for error at this point in the season, man. But with the Bills kind of struggling, not really taking too much charge. The rest of the division, the Jets look bad. I mean, the Patriots, they've looked a lot better lately with Drake May. Uh, since that locker room got called out, those guys have been playing a lot harder. So I know at the time we were all kind of clowning Gerard Mayo for saying that and Belichick coming out, but the Patriots have been playing some good ball. They've been in some close games and they've won some games as well. So I'm gonna say it's not a crazy take, man. The Dolphins have also dropped those three straight games with Tua. I think they lost by like four combined points between those three losses. So they're not out of it, man. Tyreek Hill banged up. There's definitely some factors going into it, but Chop Robinson last night, finally getting the ground going, first round pick for the Dolphins this year. So it's not crazy, man. Tua's back on track. The run game, A-Chan's gonna get it going. Mostert, those guys. So they're not exactly out yet, man. It's tough. Marginal room for error at this point for the Dolphins, so two
Who do you
losses
believe in?
max.
Who do you believe in more, the Dolphins or Browns?
Oh, the Dolphins. I mean, it's not hard. One team's got a quarterback, one doesn't. It's a locker room issue right now in Cleveland, and the Dolphins scheme issue. I've been saying that since the beginning. O-line is really bad too, but
The defense stepped
Calais
up. The defense looked good, man.
Calais Campbell stepped up as well on that D line, man. Yeah, they just gotta get. It's tough, man. It's tough. We'll see. We'll see if they can get back to that Miami high-powered offense they had last year with McDaniel and that scheme that caught the league off guard. It seems like it's been figured out, pretty well so far this season.
That's the only one I have for you.
All right, man. All right. Week 11 pick'ems. No foreign games this week. Um, but we start off NFC East primetime football divisional matchup, man. Commanders versus the Eagles at the link. I'll let you go ahead and kick it off, man.
This was a very tough one for me to pick. As you know, I've been high on Jaden Daniels this entire season. Got him at Rookie of the Year for the offense. And I just think right now these are two teams kind of moving in different directions. Whereas the Eagles, since they're bye week, couple bumps in the road here or there, but regardless, overall, they've been playing really clean football. And I think the defense has been the story of this team so far this season. Zach Bond has been like the highest rated linebacker on PFF the last 3 weeks. Like that defense, I talked about Cooper DeJean, him coming in, pretty much being the main reason, the star of this defense, why it's changed up. Mitchell getting better as the year goes on. So there's a lot of things to like here. And for the most part, the Eagles are relatively healthy. Jordan Mailata, they opened the window up, activated him off of IR. And they're saying there's a chance he plays, and if that's the case, the Eagles will be like 100% on Thursday night at full strength. And at what are we, week 10, week 11 right now in the season? Like, not a lot of teams can say that. So the Eagles have that going for them. Or on the flip side is you have the Commanders, who are still, I think, one of the better teams in the league, but over the past couple of weeks, it seemed that they've taken a small step back, haven't been as explosive, as fun as they were, earlier on in the season. Jaden Daniels, he's been banged up the past couple of weeks, played through the injury. Is that still lingering? He's not the same runner he used to be down the field. They're still throwing the ball, but offensively, they're not scoring as many touchdowns as they were earlier on. And that defense is, I mean, you saw Russ in that deep ball, and going into this week, Jalen Hurts has been the best deep ball thrower. All those deep throws. I think he has the most 40 plus yard touchdowns this season. Him and AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, that connection, you know how that's been looking this season. So there's one way to beat the Commanders. They have the recipe to do it. And then on the ground, Saquon's been really good this year. So I think it's going to be a good game. This Eagles defense, I don't like. I just don't see teams putting up big numbers on them anymore. I know they've been playing some bad teams, but I mean they held the Bengals to under 20 points. You just saw the Bengals go out and score damn near 100 on the Ravens last week. So I mean they've played some bad teams, but they've also held some decent offenses to low scoring. I think it's going to be a good game. I I feel like it could go either way. Now historically, the Commanders have played really good in Philly, and the Eagles always beat the Commanders in Washington. In 2022, that the year where they lost, I think was it one game, 1 or 2 games when we went to the Super Bowl, they lost to the Commanders at home. That was the big game. And then last year, I think the Commanders also beat the Eagles at home as well. So not good history at the link, but on a short week, the Eagles are more healthier. They're kind of hitting their stride. I'm going to take the Eagles in a close game for the division. If they win this, they pretty much have the division on lock. I mean, they'll play the Commanders again later on, but it'll be a full 1.5 game lead in the division. So I think it'll be a good game. I can see the Commanders coming out and putting a good fight, but right now, I just think this Eagles team is firing on all cylinders, and I think it feels like every single game will be like, all right, this week is the week we'll see like what they're really about, and it's just like each week more and more stuff goes on. So I think this week is the real test to kind of see if they can compete with a team who you've seen the Commanders compete with teams like, the Ravens. They play a really close game with the Steelers, a bunch of good teams. So, yeah, I think this is a great Thursday night game, not like, the last ones we're used to seeing. I feel like this year we've got a lot better in terms of Thursday night games, where as years past, it's always like, the
Snooze
Panthers
fest.
versus Bucks. Exactly, like
It
some
could
horrible
it,
games.
it could still be like a decent game on paper, but then you go out there and it's
Yeah,
you 25
yeah.
combined points.
Especially last week you saw with the Ravens and Bengals, that's going to be hard to top. And I
Oh
think this
yeah.
Commanders Eagles game is going to be a really good game. Like there's some good aspects, some good football being played on both sides. So yeah, I think the big key for I think the Eagles defense is going to step up and make a couple big plays. Pass rush has been solid, but I think the secondary and the coverage and then the play from the linebackers have stepped up, creating turnovers. They had like four fumbles against the Cowboys last week. Like I know it's the Cowboys, but forcing a fumble or like creating turnovers like in that way is that kind of translate. Like if your team is really good at creating turnovers, then you can kind of do that against anybody. So I think it'll be a good game. I'm gonna pick the Eagles here coming into this game, like the entire year, I was sure I was going to pick the Commanders up until I made this pick. I was going to pick the Commanders, but seeing how the Eagles are playing, believing in this team, and especially that defense is what gives me hope. Not too worried about the offense. You kind of know what you're going to get from the offense at this point. The defense was already always the one factor where you just kind of didn't know, especially last year the up and down roller coaster of the defense. This year, it seems like this Eagles defense is one of the better units in football. So I'm gonna take the Eagles in this defense here, making it a tough time for Jaden Daniels in a good one. So yeah, I'm gonna pick the Eagles here at home.
I think the Commanders might have more to prove here. I am going with the Eagles before I start it. Commanders against 500 plus teams. I think they have 0 wins this season. Uh, being up on the bad teams, kind of like the Dolphins did last year, but young quarterback, man. I mean, new head coach, young defense that's not really proven anything. Middle of the pack at best defense when they're playing good balls. So I think the Commanders have a little bit more to prove here. I know your Eagles take and the coaching situation in Philly, whole nother story for you. But I'm going with the Eagles. I think they got this game. You mentioned Jaden Daniels playing banged up. He really hasn't been the same since that rib injury. Uh,
Mhm.
Protecting himself as a runner, we know it's not what he does, or even doesn't run at all. So, I mean, you want to see him protect himself, but at the end of the day, what makes him so good is he's able to run and he's able to throw that deep ball and he's able to be accurate in the pocket. Taking away one element of the game, it does limit
Mhm.
him a little bit more. And being a young quarterback, not seeing some of the things that other guys have seen, the experience really shows. And I think that's what's happened so far this year with Jane Daniels. And, you know, he's still a rookie at the end of the day. He's been balling. Definitely still not up there in the MVP conversations, although Jared Goff made it a little bit easier this week for the rest of the pack to get ahead of him.
Yeah.
Um, but I think the Eagles win this game, and I honestly I don't see it being too close, to be honest. I think the Eagles will win by double digits. They should win, barring your boy Sirianni meltdown. So
And I come on this show and I say a lot about Nick, and I still think he should be fired and shouldn't be the coach of the Eagles. But you got to give him credit. Like these past couple weeks, it's been under control. You haven't heard any, crazy stuff coming out. You haven't seen him arguing with fans. Players haven't been saying this is a player-led locker room. I felt like he's done his job controlling the team. I'm not sitting here saying that he should be the coach going forward for this Eagles team. I still think he's holding them back. But regardless, I think, Vic Fangio and Kellen Moore, what they're able to do on their respective sides of the ball, I think it's been overshadowing Nick, where he kind of just has to manage and sit there and not mess up. So as long as he's not messing up, I think the two coordinators can come in. They got a bunch of experience on both sides of the ball. I think this team can be good enough to make a run in the playoffs, barring, Nick Saban. As long as he doesn't get too involved, which is crazy saying you don't want your head coach being too involved. But we're at the point now with this Eagles team where I think that's where it's at. So the last few weeks, he hasn't been too involved. There hasn't been a lot of noise. They've been beating up on the bad teams. I mean, the Jags game, you can talk about the field goals, taking the points, this and that, but against the Cowboys, they came out and pretty much did what they were expected to do, blow out a team that was, I mean, it is just nothing positive to say about the Cowboys at all right now. So, yeah, that game should have looked how it went. So, Eagles are heading in the right direction. They gotta. I'm not getting too far ahead, and we'll talk about them in the next coming episodes and stuff. But this 3 game stretch here, we'll learn a lot about them. Where they have the Commanders, the Rams, who obviously might not be that big of a game, but in 3 weeks they play the Ravens, I believe, and then the Steelers sometime after that. So couple matchups here where we kind of get to see the Eagles play against teams who actually have aspirations of playing in January and February. So yeah, it should be a good game, but I think the Eagles can do it.
wow, man, I did not come in today expecting to hear any of that, but I'm gonna move
I
us
mean,
to yeah.
they've
Listen, bro.
they've
It's just
shown what they showed on the field. You gotta respect it, man. They've been playing really good football. Now, I wouldn't. They could split with the Commanders easily, and usually if they split for the Eagles and Commanders, I would say the away team wins. But I mean, if they win here at home and then lose at Washington later on in the year, I wouldn't be surprised because the Commanders are still a really good team. They got some weapons on the offense.
Raiders, Dolphins in Miami. I mean, I just touched on them. Little room for error, and when you play a team like the Vegas Raiders at this point in the season, man, and you honestly think you got playoff aspirations, hopes, and dreams, you just got to handle business against a team like this, especially at home, even on the road. The Raiders have been horrible, and they've only gotten worse. They traded Devontae Adams, locker room, this and that. Quarterback situation's been horrible for Oakland or Vegas. So if they can't come out and win this game, man, might as well just get ready for the NFL draft this season. So
Yeah, the Raiders have three quarterbacks, and I'm not sure if three of them would start on any other team in the league. Like right now, like including all injuries. Like Cooper Rush, Trey Lance, like maybe you take Gardner Minshew over them. I don't think you take a
Trey
Desmond Ritter
Lance.
over it for the Cowboys, for Cooper Rush and
Oh,
Trey Lance on Dallas, like compared to
yeah.
the Raiders quarterback
Oh, yeah,
situation.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm saying like maybe Gardner Minshew, maybe over Mac Jones right now starting for the Jags, but even that,
I'd take
I
the
feel like
Trey
it's a
Lance
debate.
upside at least.
No, I'm saying for the Raiders.
I
Whereas
know,
you
I
got
know. I'm
Desmond Ritter, Gardner Minshew, and Aiden
AOC.
O'Connell. Yeah,
Yeah.
like I don't think those three quarterbacks would start on any other team right now.
Ne-
Like
I'm right with
injury,
you.
like backups included.
Maybe
That's what I'm trying.
Minshew over Mac. I might like that one, bro. That's about
Maybe,
it.
but that's still an argument you can make. And then
Yeah.
Cooper Rush and Trey Lance over there in Dallas, I feel like you could make that argument. Maybe.
Think I'll rock
What
with
other?
Trey over him at that. Like I
Yeah, at least you get the running upside. So yeah, the Raiders are definitely in draft mode, and for the Dolphins, I think their defense surprised me. Kader Kohu looked really good in the slot. Ramsey, up there in age, was still making some big plays down the field, especially against that Rams team that they have some really good weapons on the outside. We know what Stafford can do in this league, so it was really nice to see them hold up. Pressure was getting to him, man. You mentioned Calais Campbell, and also what's the other defensive end? Zach Seidler, what's his name?
Zealer Sealer.
Yeah, he came back off injury. He was making
Hmm.
a bunch of big plays up in the middle. So that Dolphins defense has been pretty impressive this year. So yeah, against this Raiders team, um, yeah, like it should not really be a contest. Especially if you're a team like Dolphins who, they still got some hope. This is a game kind of like the Eagles the past few weeks. You should
Handle
handle
business.
business against
Yep.
these teams. Yeah, so Dolphins got to win this game.
Browns Saints in New Orleans. I don't even think this is about handling business. Saints coming off a miracle game for him. I don't even know what to say.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, they coming off a dub. Browns bye week. I'm picking the Browns. I don't want them to win this football game. It like maybe it just like make me happy for a little, but I don't want to see them win. Yeah, hopefully, trade deadline pass, man. Kept the guys I wanted on the roster. Happy with that. Let's just prepare for next season, but the Saints are just so bad. I can't pick them to win.
Yeah, I picked the Browns. I don't know why, but I'm with you. I'm definitely gonna change my pick to the Saints. I'm gonna just pick the Saints just because this is another one of those games where I'm trying to catch you in the pick'em score. Yeah, two teams that are definitely looking towards the future at this point. Although you mentioned MVS showed up for his one yearly game of like having 100 plus yards and two touchdowns on like three catches. So I'm sure he won't have anywhere near the rest of those numbers going forward this season. But
If the Browns are
uh,
anything like busted coverage they had 2 weeks ago, he'd have a field day. So
yeah, we'll see. This is a game we're used to seeing on Thursday night. Bottom of the barrel football. I'm gonna go with the Saints.
Colts Jets, man, at MetLife. A few weeks ago, I called out the Jets. They were holding me off for a little bit. And they go out there and absolutely embarrass themselves against the Cardinals last week. So I'm gonna go ahead and pick against the Jets, and I'm gonna pick the Colts, who Joe Flacco's also been embarrassing past few weeks for Indy. Um, just I'm not picking Rodgers and this Jets team. Like, just not buying it. New York media, this and that. They're calling Aaron Rodgers washed now. Like, I don't know, man. Just keep feeding Garrett Wilson, I guess, and or actually Devontae Adams. I need more than Garrett Wilson, but yeah, give me the Colts. Just like the younger team at this point, but
Yeah, I was the one higher on the Jets coming to the season. Even during the season, I still held out hope. And last week, I kind of said, like, against the Cardinals, like, this is the game. Like, you got to win against the Texans at home. You get extra, that was on a Thursday. So you get the extra rest, extra preparation against the Cardinals team who we mentioned is spicy. They hang around, they're leading the division, might win the division. So a competent playoff team, let's see if they can, string together a few wins. And that was just the last straw for me and the Jets. Like, I'm not believing them anymore. I saw enough. Like 6 points against the Cardinals. You can't score one touchdown. Yeah, not looking too good. They got some big issues there in New York, and it starts at the quarterback position, unfortunately. So, and you can say the same for the Colts. They got some issues, and it starts at the quarterback position as well. So, yeah, this is also a go either way game. Now that I pick against them, the Jets will probably end up winning. So, listen, man, I'd rather be on the wrong side of history for this one. I'm not picking the Jets anymore. So, give me the Colts.
Yeah,
Joe Flacco revenge game. That's what I'm hanging my hat on.
just throw AR out there, bro. Just get him those reps we always talk about.
Okay. Nah, not in Flacco's revenge game, bro.
One where we,
Yeah.
if he has a revenge game, it's gonna end up postponing another week. But Vikings Titans in Nashville. The Titans started off the game not looking horribly. They ended up losing that game, but I mean, it wasn't their worst football game they've played this season. Still, the Vikings, on the other hand, a really ugly win for him last week. I mean, expected the Vikings to come out and show out a little bit better against this Jags team that's been so bad. You have Mac Jones. What was it? 6 points they put up, seven. Um,
Uh, I think he scored one rushing
yeah,
touchdown on the QB sneak. Yeah.
QB sneak at the one. Yeah, you're right. 7 points, and they could barely beat the Jags. I mean, it was close game down to the wire. That being said, man, not buying into the Titans all season. It's been bad football to watch. Give me the Vikings.
Yeah, I think this could be a potential upset based off what we saw
Trap
in
game.
the Jags might just be like the best worst team of all time. Like what they did last week in Philly or 2 weeks ago in Philly, hanging around with the Eagles, and then what they were able to do with Mac Jones against the Vikings. Now maybe it says more about the teams they're playing, but at a certain point, like they're just hanging around with all these teams. Now they end up losing the games, which has a lot to do with their head coach. But I don't know, man. That Jags team is weird. But regardless, yeah, for Minnesota, Sam Darnold kind of looked like the Sam Darnold of old this game back in New York, where just some of the reads, some of the interceptions he was throwing, not hitting a lot of throws, just that offense just didn't look like it was clicking on all cylinders. And when the defense is doing their part, you kind of expect the offense to step up. So against the Titans, who are it's going to be a tougher matchup. This Titans defense is kind of the only bright spot they have right now on that team, where they've been playing some decent football. But I just think offensively, you got Will Levis back there, Tony Pollard's banged up. Like it, this Vikings defense should be enough to win in them game just single handedly. At this point, like I bet the Vikings would be like, "Yo, let's just play the entire game offense versus defense, bro, and we'll take the end result of that at this point." So yeah, the Vikings should be able to beat this Titans team. They're not that good.
Yeah, man. NFC North matchup. Packers Bears in Chicago. Locker room calling for Caleb Williams to get benched, man. Some reports going around the NFL. I'm rolling with the Pack. They're coming off a bye week. Jordan Love getting that extra week of rest here. Is a little banged up. Last time they went out and played, they took an L, but I expect them to bounce back. This Bears team, talk about how, they got a good defense, but this offense is really struggling of late. It seemed like they started picking things up, died back down real quick, and it not looking too good in Chicago. Is it the coordinators? Is it the head coach? Is it just the culture in Chicago right now is being questioned all around? Give me the Packers. I think this should be, divisional game where they march into Soldier Field and take a dub.
Yeah, I think me and you talked about the Bears and how they were winning a couple games, but we mentioned like their schedule down the stretch was just impossible. And I was listening to the Ryan Russillo podcast, and they were mentioning like the remaining strength of schedule for like all the teams. The Bears' remaining strength of schedule is like .708. Bro, guess the next team's highest like strength of schedule after that. Like after .708.
I'm gonna go with 7%.
Bro, I think it might be the Steelers or I can't forget the other team, but the second place team is like 500, bro. Like 506 or something like that. Bro, the Bears still have all of their division matchup games left, bro. Then they play the Seahawks and 49ers. Like that's the rest of the way for the Bears. Like they're not winning another game. It's gonna be bad for Chicago.
No way
This
you
friend,
get clean swept in the division. That'd be. I wonder if
but I
that'd be.
mean,
It's probably not a
yo, right
first.
now, who are you taking the Bears over, bro? Like maybe the Vikings at home, but bro,
It's
that
a
defense, the way this
coin
offense
flip
is
game.
playing,
I don't know.
that Vikings defense against this Bears offense, who like haven't had a first like a scoring drive in like
On
three
paper,
games,
they
like
shouldn't. On paper, but you know,
it,
like one crazy thing is gonna happen one game where they get a win.
it's a possibility. But regardless, like the odds are not in their favor. Yeah, give me the Packers.
Yeah,
This is kind of the same time of the year where last year everyone remembers that big Thanksgiving game against the Lions. They won on the road. Same kind of deal
they
here
play.
later on in the season, coming off of the bye. This is when the Packers play their best football, where they made a little playoff run last year. So I think we see a similar run here. Packers probably expecting to go further themselves. So yeah, the Packers get on track here and they continue to own the Bears, as Aaron Rodgers would say.
They play the Dolphins on Thanksgiving. Hopefully, they don't ruin another holiday for me. I
The
think it
Lions
was
play the Dolphins.
no, the Packers.
The
Packers
Packers
Dolphins prime time. Yeah,
again.
that it was
Didn't they?
Christmas.
Oh, that was Christmas. Yeah,
I
that was
think
last year or 2 years
yeah,
ago.
2 years ago. I think it was Christmas, and Jair picked off Tua in the end
Yeah,
zone to seal the game.
yeah.
Man, I
That might
ruined
have
my
been last year,
Christmas.
actually.
It might have been Thanksgiving 2 years ago. I don't. Nah, it
No,
was a
it
day
was definitely
game.
Christmas. It was definitely Christmas.
Yeah, I had to
Yeah.
because it was a day game, and the Packers or the Lions
Hmm.
and then the Cowboys always play those first two games on Thanksgiving. So, Jags Lions in Detroit. Jared Goff throwing more picks than he's thrown all season in one game against the Houston Texans, yet still winning the football game. The Texans didn't score in the second half whatsoever. Joe Mixon averaged 1.8 yards per carry in the second half, or in the entire game. Um, but yeah, I just mentioned Mac Jones, how bad the Jags have been, how close they've been in some football games, but when it comes down to the wire, they're the worst closing team in the NFL, hands down. Give me the Lions. Too many weapons. Expect Jared Goff not to make that many mistakes this football game and get back on track to his MVP form he's played with, up until last week.
Yeah. I mean, throwing five interceptions and still winning the game the way they did, shutting out the Texans in the second half. There's really not much to say here in this Jags versus Lions game. At Detroit as well, you know that stadium's going to be rocking against this sorry Jags team. You'll probably see Mac Jones on the field again. So yeah, give me the Lions. Not much to say there in that matchup.
Rams, Patriots in Foxborough. Rams coming off that Monday night loss, and the Patriots. I mean, we just talked about them and how Drake Mays looked at this point. They did play the Bears last week. Um, I believe May had a pick as well. But this Patriots team's look solid, man. They've looked like a decent football team when they went out there and ups and downs so far this season. But the Rams started off struggling. Everybody was banged up. Nobody on the team really can make any plays. And then you go win three straight, and then you go drop this game last night. They just couldn't get anything going whatsoever. The defense was able to create um, some key turnovers against the Dolphins last night, but really weren't able to capitalize, struggled to get first downs early on in a football game, move the chains, get the ball downfield. But with that, playing the Patriots, trusting this offense, the Cup, Nakua, the Kyrans of this offense, and the Sean McVay led Matthew Stafford team. So I'm going to rock with the Rams here on the road against the Pats.
Yeah, I almost picked the Patriots, but then
I
I
don't hate
remember
it.
they played the Bears last week, and you know how we feel about the Bears. You just mentioned what was going on with them. So yeah, I think the Rams can definitely win this game here. You pretty much covered everything that went wrong with them against the Dolphins. Want to see that offense get going a little bit more, and we know what they're capable of. We have you know, also seen what Sean McVay can do. Stafford, like these guys aren't going to go another game without scoring a touchdown against this Patriots team. I think they're okay. I mean, for what their situation is with the rookie quarterback moving in the right direction, I think they've seen some flashes, some promises from young guys they like, but ultimately I just think the Rams, especially coming off of that loss to Miami, like they're another one of those teams where they don't have a lot of room for error if they're trying to make the playoffs, if they're trying to potentially win that division. So, yeah, if they can't lose this game against the Patriots with what they have hopes of doing this season, I think they got the talent to as well. Your guy, Jared Verse, once again, making plays. He looked really good against the Dolphins. He just seems to always be in the backfield, whether it's sacking the quarterback or a tackle for loss. So, yeah, a lot of young guys stepping up on that defense, and then you mentioned those weapons they have. I'm just believing in that. So yeah, give me the Rams as well.
Rams, or excuse me, Ravens, Steelers up next. Next in Pittsburgh, kind of touched on it. Steelers looking good, and it looks like, who might win this football game. It's going to really take control of that AFC North. It's still neck and neck between these two teams fighting at the top of the division. Steelers are ahead of the Ravens at this point and hold that number one seed in the North. I'm excited for this game, man. It's a good AFC North football at the end of the day. Two teams, Steelers defense has been balling. Now you get Russ back. Offense has really been clicking with him in the lineup. The Ravens, on the other hand, Lamar's been balling out all season. It's the defense that has struggled, which historically for Baltimore is usually never the case. That defense has always been at least middle of the pack to strong. They're on the backside of the defensive side of things this year. That being said, man, I can't pick the Steelers, man. I just can't. George George Pickens last week out there, instead of just touching the defender down when he went right by him, decided to go get up and fight the DB on the play. Give me the Ravens.
I think this will be like a similar situation compared to the Eagles and Commanders we talked about early on, where this is kind of like for the division lead. And I like the Steelers, man, at home. I think even though the Ravens might be slightly better, I think these are two really good teams in that division. Wouldn't be surprised if they split games here at home. So I'm gonna take the Steelers. I think this is kind of this matchup, I think the Steelers' strengths play a lot more into this game than the Ravens do. Because you look at the Ravens, what do they do best? Maybe better than anyone in football this year. It's that quarterback, Lamar Jackson, in that offense. They're going to run the ball. They're going to score a lot of points. Well, what is the Steelers' strength? Their defense. They want to stop the run. They want to, get that lead and then let TJ Watt go off the edge. So strength versus strength in that situation. Then when you look at the other side of the ball, that Ravens defense you mentioned, they can't stop anything at all. And what has the Steelers, as the weeks have gone on, Russell Wilson getting more and more time in the offense, what have they been able to do this year is throw the ball downfield. And what do the Ravens let you do this year? Throw the ball downfield. So I'm expecting a bunch of Russell Wilson bombs. George Pickens is probably going to have a bunch of antics after making a bunch of big catches this game. Pat Fryermuth will get involved. Calvin Austin, all those guys, they're looking good for the Steelers offense. So I expect the Steelers offense to put up some points early. They're going to throw all over the Ravens like everyone does. And then it just comes down to can that Steelers defense get one or two stops when it matters. And you got TJ Watt on your team. I think they can get one or two stops. So it's going to be a really good game. Like you said, I think you're going to see a lot of high level football in really good positions. So it should be a good game. Like I said, wouldn't be surprised if they split this tough division matchup. But I'm going to go with the Steelers here at home.
I don't hate it. Next game up, man. We got the Seahawks Niners in San Fran. Should be a good one. Niners getting a dub by the skin of their teeth last week. Couple missed field goals and miscues on special teams. I saw that Debo clip, him on the sideline, a long
Not a
snapper,
good
and
one.
kicker Jake Moody. Classic crash out receiver antics by Debo, man. Seahawks coming off bye week. I'm gonna go ahead and take them against this Niners team that has really been shaky up and down this season. I mean, they get McCaffrey back last week. Actually, I don't know what I'm doing, man. McCaffrey looked pretty good out there last week.
I was about to say, that
So
definitely gonna help me get back in the race.
totally different team when you have one of the best running backs, if not the best running back in the NFL, out there on the field. He had plenty of time to recover from the Achilles or both Achilles injury he had. So I'm gonna go ahead and rock with the Niners. Moody hits a couple field goals that game. It's not even close against the Bucks, but it was a game. Sometimes you win, the leg, you make them, you miss them. He makes a lot of those most of the time, coming off an injury too. So he's getting another week to get healthy. Think this Seahawks team's just outmatched.
Yeah, at home, I definitely like this Niners team. Now, yeah, the NFL, somebody has to look in what was going on with Christian McCaffrey this season. Because we mentioned, like, everyone knows before the season, he was
Week one
literally
ready
a
to go.
game time decision, bro. Like, right before the game, didn't play. 10 weeks later, coming off of this Achilles injury that made him miss 10 weeks, bro, or like 9 weeks. The reports are saying, yeah, it's going to be like a 50-50 backfield. Jordan Mason might see a lot of work. Bro, I think Jordan Mason had one carry, bro. Christian McCaffrey was in the backfield like all game. Like he was complete, like he didn't miss a beat. He looked like regular McCaffrey out there. I think he only averaged like 3 yards per carry on runs, but he was out there like running routes, getting involved in the
In the
passing
open
game, like
field, he was looking
yeah,
nice.
like looking like Christian McCaffrey of old. So, maybe like I don't know what was going on there in San Fran.
He might have
Regardless,
saved
they
my
get him
fantasy
back.
season. I saw I'm
Yeah,
four and six now. I got a chance at the playoffs,
he's
bro.
he's
So
might he might have saved a lot of people's seasons with that, but yeah, regardless, this 49ers team, that defense, and you mentioned after a bye later on in the season, like the 49ers just win. Seahawks, maybe DK comes back, but I mean, 49ers already beat them in Seattle earlier this year. It just already kind of always seems like the Niners own the Seahawks. So, yeah, like you mentioned, I think the Seahawks are outmatched in this one. Give me the 49ers at home.
Nick Bosa also might be able to bring down Geno Smith's stiff arm this week.
No, he's going to be fired up to go against Smith. We all know that.
Glad you said it, not me. Falcons, Broncos in Denver. Um, yeah, Falcons just coming off the worst loss I've ever seen. Uh, I can't even say ever seen, but this season it's up there. It's definitely up there, man. They couldn't handle business against the Saints last week. Hospital ball car out there. Falcons look lost. I just Bo Nix take care of the football. This Broncos defense has played real good this season. Don't see why they can't keep it going. Give me the Broncos. It's not. I just don't know what to say about the Falcons, man. It's a
Yeah,
disappointing
and this is
loss.
another one of those games where I could definitely see this going either way. I'm just making the picks, trying to catch you again. Um, the Broncos have looked solid. I mean, it came down to a blocked field goal against the Chiefs with 35-yard chip shot. Like it was gonna go in, but regardless, man,
I've never
this
seen. I
Falcons team,
never a pancake on a field goal. You got pancake.
yeah,
Come
right.
on.
This Falcons team has zero pass rush. Their defense, like they just can't get after the quarterback at all. And Derek Carr is back there just trucking up prayers to MVS. So Bo Nix has looked really good down the stretch these past couple games. He's like throwing the ball down the field, not like he was beginning of the year, where it just seemed like it was everything was like a screen or a 5 yard slant or RPO. Now he's actually throwing the ball downfield and having success. So I think this, especially with their defense and this Broncos offense, is good. It's good enough to win some games here down the stretch. I think they'll be a tough out, especially at home. But I mean, on offense, this Falcons team is one of the better offenses. They have the weapons. Drake London, another week removed from that injury. He was banged up. Bijan's looked like a top five running back in the league. He's been running all over the place, catching passes. Darnell Mooney stepped up. He's been a really nice target. Kyle Pitts, he's come along. So I think Kirk Cousins in this offense can do just enough to where the defense can kind of sit back and kind of just hold on for dear life. But I mean, I don't hate the Broncos picks. I think they've had one of the better defenses this year. Can definitely see them kind of just taking the lead and just holding on to it against this Falcons team. But listen, man, at this point in the year, it's not all about being right. It's about catching you in the pick. So listen, man, if I feel like a game could go either way, I'm going the other way, man. Give me the Falcons.
Well, I just made a switcheroo because Dolphins won last night for the next game. Chiefs, Bills in Buffalo. Dolphins won last night. They mentioned, they could still possibly catch the Bills for the division as well. Um, I don't know, bro. The Chiefs got the woo lady cooking in the back or something, man. There's been some memes about it. It's, something's going on, man. I thought the Bills could have a shot, and the Dolphins lost last night, 2-7. I would have just picked it, but they got a chance. And what do you think? 10-0 for the Chiefs doesn't sound too unrealistic at this point. So, football aside, yeah, I'm picking the Chiefs, man. But the Bills, I mean, it's tough, man, with their weapons on the outside both being banged up. Amari Cooper and Keon Coleman, two of their top guys so far this season, and they just got Cooper not too long ago before the via the trade. So gonna be tough for the Bills. Pacheco's getting activated off IR. He's gonna be returning in a couple of weeks. Reinforcements are coming for the Chiefs, and not looking too good for the rest of the league right now.
Yeah, there's not much to say. I'm picking the Chiefs, and until they lose, I don't think. Even then, I still might pick them after. Uh, they've owned this Bills team, whether it's
Mm-hmm.
at home, on the road, ever since that or not overtime loss,
Made him
but
change the rule.
yeah, yeah, the playoff game in Arrowhead. Ever since then, bro, you go to last year in the playoffs. Like, although I think last year the Bills did beat Kansas City during the regular season,
They did.
but couldn't come up when weren't able to
Mattered
play the best
most.
when it mattered the most. So I don't know. This game just feels like it has more implications than last year's regular season game, and I just the Chiefs just don't look beatable, bro. They're not playing good football at all, but when it matters the most, when the big play needs to happen, it just somehow always does. Give me the Chiefs.
Bengals Chargers in LA Sunday Night Football, man. And it seems like, Herbert's, and you mentioned the past few weeks, they don't need to run the ball 30 times. Harbaugh's opening up that offense, running the ball when they need to. Quentin Johnston's not looking like the worst first round pick last year. He's looking like a very capable receiver on the outside. Him and Herbert have been connecting the past few weeks, especially into the end zone. He's seen, become one of his favorite targets. Ladd McConkey out there balling on the outside. Bengals, on the other hand, offensively, they look phenomenal, but it's tough when you give up 38 plus points, 33 plus points a game. They can't get a stop to save their life. This offense can't outscore they can score with the best, but I don't think they could outscore their own defense giving up points. Harbaugh, I think, he'll be able to get a couple stops in the end, and I think the Chargers get the win at SoFi.
Yeah, this Bengals team, they're just like a worse version of the Ravens. Like both of these defenses are
Mm-hmm.
terrible. And then you look at Joe Burrow and that offense, it's like, yeah, they can throw the ball all over the place, but the one element I think the Ravens have that the Bengals don't is a run game. Like
Mm-hmm.
Derrick Henry compared to Chase Brown, Lamar Jackson, what he brings to the running game, like that's just a whole nother element. So that's why I think the Ravens have been able to overcome their defense a lot more just because they're so much more versatile on offense. Whereas if you're playing the Bengals, you can pretty much just sit back in coverage and they're not going to convert every single drive. Like you can get us up here too. Whereas with the Ravens, like pick your poison, they're going to be able to exploit you either way on the ground or through the air. So for the Bengals, I think this Chargers team, especially with Harbaugh and how they like to play super physical, they want teams to be one dimensional. And I think they just want to take that away. So I think they'll be able to make the passing game a little more difficult for the Bengals. Now, I'm not saying they won't go out and have success. I think Joe Burrow's playing really well this year. He's one of the better quarterbacks in the league. So he'll have success. But I think this Chargers team will have some success or a lot more success on offense as well. You mentioned Herbert finally playing at that upper echelon elite level. Dobbins, Gus Edwards came back. He was a nice addition, kind of take the load off of Dobbins, a nice split backfield. And yeah, Quentin Johnson's catching touchdowns for Conkey. He's getting involved. It just looks like a competent team in LA. And we've been so used to these Chargers just losing games that they have no business losing. Now, I think with Harbaugh, with Herbert playing the way he is, this team can win some games against good opponents. And I think this is going to be another example. Sunday night in LA, Chargers get it done.
Monday Night Football, man. Texans Cowboys at Jerry's World. There's gonna be no problem with the sun this week. When Jerry Jones said that after CD came out and said that, he wouldn't mind curtains back there to block the sun, but Jerry said gave the Cowboys a tactical advantage. So shout out Jerry Jones, big ball knowledge guy out there. Um, with that being said, I mean, give me the Texans. The Cowboys have been awful. It only gets worse without Dak Prescott on the field. Um, yeah, I know the Texans lost an ugly game against the Lions, but at the end of the day, I just don't see how you pick this Cowboys team.
Yeah, there's no shot this Cowboys team wins. Dak Prescott out for the year. You mentioned Jerry Jones and comments Micah Parsons made after the game talking about his head coach, saying that doesn't really care what he does if he leaves the team or not. Just not what you want going on right now in the locker room. Not much to say there with Dallas. And then you look at the Texans. Shout out Nico Collins getting activated off of the IR and not playing. Sure, a lot of people on Sunday night were kind of put in a tough position. Me being included in there, but I, I was 8-1, so kind of just gambled and threw him in there. Wasn't really worried about that subtle flex. But regardless, I think this Texans team will be fine down the stretch. I still think they have a couple more division games, and you look at their division, they should clearly win that. When you look at the Jags, Texans, and Titans, or excuse me, I said Texans, the Colts. So yeah, down the stretch, I think this Texans team will be fine. They'll get healthy. Nico Collins, hopefully he'll be back. Will Anderson, he'll be back later on this season as well. They'll get some guys. CJ Stroud will continue to play good football. I think they'll be all right, and I think this Cowboys game is the perfect get right game.
Yeah, you could call it a get right game, man. I think any game against the Cowboys right now is a get right game besides week one. It's gonna wrap up our week 11 pick'ems, man. You got any last comments, takes, anything like that?
Wow, man, in the heart of the season, a lot of teams making a playoff push. Some good football.
Yeah, you can say that. Definitely not on this side. We'll see. We'll see. It's still been, I will say Sunday, most relaxed day of football I've ever watched, maybe in my life, man, without the Dolphins
Browns bye
playing,
week.
Browns on a bye. Yeah, just not having to even see them pop up on Red Zone or anything like that. It was a good feeling to watch the first half of a blowout, but yeah, man, it was nice 1 week and right back to it. But it's gonna wrap up Goal to Go episode 112, man, week 11 of
Oh,
the NFL
also,
season.
also, real quick before we go, yo, you
Yep.
gotta fix my record. I beat you last week. I got 3 games wrong. Once again, you're point shaving, bro. Fix my record, dog. I'm 1 game up on you.
You have editing control to the sheet.
No, no, I gotta tell you to make sure you were
One,
wrong,
two,
bro.
three. What I put four?
The Pats, you didn't put Pats for me. I had to put the Pats in myself, bro. So that was the 1 game you got wrong.
Oh, did I mark it? I didn't.
Oh wait, no, it was the yeah, you just didn't mark it. You counted it as like I didn't pick them. You just missed it.
Oh, I put the Pats beat the Titans.
No, the Bears.
Oh, you talking about this week?
Yeah, this previous week, yeah. You were 10-4, I was 11-3.
Mm-hmm.
You got me at 10-4.
Okay. My bad,
And
bro. My bad.
hey man, listen, we got a couple weeks left, bro. Every
So
win
you're
count.
86 and 65, and I'm 92 and 59. All right.
Facts.
I guess that's our week 10 standing so far. I'll change it for you, bro. Um, Go to go, episode 112, man. As I said, week 11 of the NFL season. We'll be back with another episode next week, man. Peace.